Welcome to Interview Mock Lab Podcast. Today, we're diving into something really practical, a super useful tool for absolutely nailing interview questions.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about the STAR method.
That's right.
We'll break down exactly what it is, how it works, and then walk through some really common interview questions.
Yeah, and we'll give you some solid professional examples using STAR so you can see how it's done.
Think of this as, your shortcut to feeling way more confident and prepared walking into that room.
Exactly. It really helps structure your answers effectively.
Okay, so let's get started. First things first, what is the STAR method fundamentally?
Right. So STAR, it's an acronym. It stands for Situation, Task, Action, and Result.
Situation, task, action, result. Okay.
And it's basically a technique, a structured way to answer those situational or behavioral interview questions.
Behavioral questions.
Yeah, right.
Those are the ones like, tell me about a time when's...
Exactly. Those was interviewers ask them because they want to see, actual evidence of how you handle things in the past.
The idea being that past performance predicts future success.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
They want specific examples, not just general ideas.
Okay, makes sense. So the goal is to give them a concrete story from your experience using this STAR structure.
Precisely. You're providing proof of your skills and experience through a real-life scenario.
Let's break down those letters then. Starting with S, situation. What goes in there?
For situation, you just need to set the scene, give the context,
Okay.
be specific, like who was involved,
Yeah.
what was happening, where was this, maybe when, enough detail so they understand the background.
But not like a 5-minute backstory.
No. Concise. Just the essentials to understand what follows.
Got it. Set the scene. Then T's for tasks.
Task is about your specific responsibility in that situation. What needed to be done? What was the goal you were aiming for?
So specifically what you were supposed to accomplish.
Yes, exactly. What was your particular job within that bigger picture?
All right. Situation, task. Then A for action. This sounds like the core of it.
It really is. Action is where you detail the specific steps you personally took to address the tasks.
The emphasis on you.
Absolutely crucial. Avoid saying, we did this, or the team decided. The interviewer needs to know your specific actions, your contribution.
So use I statements. I analyzed. I contacted it. I developed.
Exactly. Be specific about the actions you took. Strong verbs help here.
Okay, clear actions you took. And that leads us to our result.
Result is the outcome. What happened because of your action?
And ideally, a good outcome.
Right. Ideally, yes. Highlight the positive results.
Yeah.
And if you can, quantify them.
Quantify, like using numbers.
Yeah. Instead of just, it went well, maybe
Yeah.
say, we increased efficiency by 15%, or the project finished 2 days early. Numbers add weight.
That definitely sounds more impactful. What if the result wasn't, perfect?
That's okay too sometimes. You can focus on what you learned or how you mitigated a negative outcome. Honesty about learning from mistakes can also be positive, but for most standard questions, you'll want to pick examples of positive results. Right. Focus on the positive outcome or the learning. So
Yeah.
pulling back a bit, why is this STAR structure so much better than, say, just telling the story freestyle?
Well, it provides clarity and structure. It ensures you cover all the key points the interviewer is listening for: the context, your role, your actions, and the impact.
So it keeps you focused.
Exactly. And it forces you to be specific. Interviewers really don't want vague hypothetical answers like, well, if that happened, I would probably...
They want to hear what you actually did.
Yes. Specificity is key. Starting with something like, during my time at company X, I was faced with, immediately grounds your answer in real experience. It's concrete evidence.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense. Let's try putting it into practice. How about we take some common interview questions and walk through STAR answers?
Great idea. Let's do it.
All right, first one, a classic. Tell me about a time when you handled a significant amount of pressure at work. How would STAR work here? Okay, so, situation. In my previous role, we had a major project deadline coming up, and suddenly a key colleague had to take unexpected leave.
Okay, that's pressure. Task.
Task. My manager asked for volunteers to pick up the extra workload to ensure we still delivered on time and within budget. I volunteered to take on my colleagues' core responsibilities for this project.
Stepping up. Action.
Action. I immediately dove into their handover notes, studied the project brief thoroughly. I then created a revised work plan, prioritizing the most critical tasks. I also realized I'd need to put in some extra hours, especially in the first week, to get up to speed and stay on track, which I did.
So clear steps you took. Result.
Result. As a result of that planning and extra effort, the project was completed successfully, met all specifications, and importantly was delivered right on the original deadline. My supervisor was, well, thrilled and specifically thanked me for stepping up and managing the pressure effectively.
That's a really solid example. Hits all the points. Situation, task, action, result. Okay, let's try another one. How about describe a stressful situation you faced and how you dealt with it?
Hmm. All right. Situation. Once, while working on the 5th floor of an office building, the fire alarm went off. A lot of people initially thought it was just a drill or a false alarm and weren't moving quickly.
Yeah, that can happen. Stressful. Task.
Task. My immediate priority, my task was to ensure everyone on our floor evacuated safely and followed the proper procedure using the fire escape.
Okay, clear goal. Action.
Action. I raised my voice calmly but firmly, instructing everyone to leave immediately via the stairs, not the elevator. Some people grumbled, thinking it wasn't serious, but I insisted. I then did a quick sweep of our area to make sure no one was left behind, and I was the last one out. Once outside, I did a quick informal roll call for our immediate team.
Taking charge. And
Yeah.
Sabri?
Result. It turned out there actually was a small fire reported on a lower floor. So thankfully, everyone got out safely. Afterwards, I felt I'd handled it with, confidence and resilience, sticking to safety protocols. I also gently reminded the team later about the importance of taking alarms seriously.
Another great example. Shows responsibility and clear thinking under stress. Okay, how about workplace dynamics? Give me an example of a time you had a conflict with a colleague and how you resolved it.
Right. Conflict questions.
Yeah.
Situation. On a previous project team, I found myself disagreeing quite strongly with a colleague over the best technical approach for a key feature. He seemed resistant to my ideas, maybe even a bit dismissive in meetings.
Tricky situation.
Task.
Task. My goal was to resolve this conflict professionally, find a way forward that worked for the project, and maintain a positive working relationship if possible.
Professionalism is key. Action. Action. I decided the best first step was to talk to him privately, not in a group setting. I approached him and calmly explained my perspective on the technical issue, focusing on the project goals. I specifically said something like, I want to understand your perspective better, maybe I'm missing something. I asked directly if I'd done anything to, cause friction.
So direct but non-confrontational. What was the result?
Result. He actually seemed a bit surprised, but then opened up. He admitted he felt his own expertise wasn't being fully recognized on the project, which wasn't really about my specific idea. He apologized for being dismissive. We ended up having a really productive discussion about the technical merits, found some common ground, and agreed to collaborate more openly. Our working relationship definitely improved after that.
That shows great interpersonal skills, turning conflict into collaboration. Okay, one more maybe. How about the dreaded, tell me about a time you made a mistake at work?
Ah, yes, the mistake question. Everyone makes them. Okay, situation. Early in my logistics career, I miscalculated inventory needs for a key product line right before our busiest season, leading to a potential stock shortage.
Oof, yeah, that's a mistake.
Task.
Task. My immediate task was twofold. First, own up to the error, and second, do everything possible to rectify it and prevent a stock out, and also ensure it wouldn't happen again.
Okay, honesty in fixing it. Action.
Action. I went directly to my line manager, explained exactly what happened, took full responsibility, and then asked for the chance to fix it. I immediately contacted our supplier, explained the situation honestly, and persuaded them to expedite an additional shipment. It required some negotiation. Concurrently, I worked with my manager to implement a double-check system for inventory forecasting to prevent future errors.
So, owned it, acted fast, and thought long-term. Result. We managed to get the additional stock delivered just in time, avoiding any disruption during the peak season. My manager commended my honesty and quick action. And importantly, the new double-check process prevented similar errors later on. It showed I could take responsibility and learn from mistakes.
Excellent. Demonstrates accountability, problem-solving, and learning. One last quick example scenario, maybe dealing with a difficult customer.
Sure. Situation. Working in retail, a customer became quite angry because they wanted a refund on a final sale item, which was against our clearly stated policy.
Always tough task.
Task. To resolve the situation calmly, uphold company policy, but also try to de-escalate the customer's anger and not disturb others in the queue.
Tricky balance. Action.
Action. I first listened carefully to their complaint without interrupting. I calmly explained the store policy regarding sale items, pointing to the notice on their receipt. As they were getting louder, I invited them slightly away from the main queue to discuss it more privately. I reiterated the policy firmly but politely, apologized for the inconvenience, but stated clearly I couldn't process the refund in this case.
Okay. And the result?
Result: the customer, while still not happy about the policy, did calm down significantly once they realized I wasn't going to change the rule, but was treating them respectfully. They eventually left without further disruption. I managed to uphold the policy while handling the conflict professionally and minimizing disturbance to other shoppers.
Shows composure and adherence to policy. These examples really bring the STAR method to life.
Yeah, and you can see how it provides that structure: situation, task, action, result.
Right.
It works for so many different types of behavioral questions.
Absolutely. And listeners, you can apply this to other areas too, right? Like questions about flexibility,
Or disagreeing with a supervisor.
completing a difficult project.
Learning a new skill, maybe even relocation questions if they involve past experiences. Achieving excellence, witnessing great customer service. The list goes on.
So the key is to prepare a few of these STAR stories in advance, covering different skills or competencies.
Exactly. Think about your key achievements and challenges and frame them using STAR. Having those ready will make a huge difference in the interview.
Definitely boosts confidence.
No doubt about it.
Well, that pretty much wraps up our look at using the STAR method. We really hope these examples and the breakdown give you a solid game plan for your next interview.
Remember, be specific, focus on your actions, and highlight those results.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Interview Mock Lab. If this was helpful, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe to our Interview Mock Lab YouTube channel. You'll find more tips and insights there.
We wish you the absolute best in your interview journey.